What are we doing here today? Today, we're going to be talking about some stuff involving Sony and Microsoft again. The main thing is Sony going full digital and effectively gutting. Let's center that a little better. There we go. Going full digital, and they're getting rid of their disc reader, and it's effectively just gutting their DR, and they're just making it so you can't really own your games anymore. So we see the backlash. Sony starting many PlayStations. There's 100 plus post replies. Recent posts reported close to 10,000. Time passes. Players have moved on. For now, it's likely increasing that with versus direction. It's increasingly unlikely, so they're not getting as many posts on their Twitter feed. There have been some people protesting for the announcement, so it looks like we see fewer than 1,000 replies compared to 107 plus thousand for the announcement, 411,000 for recent posts. So they received a ton of posts talking about it on Twitter. It's kind of a nothing burger, to be brutally honest, but it's more of a segue. Sony's not going to reverse course. People aren't really happy about it. There's been a lot of complaints and stuff like that as well for against Sony. And, well, let's move over to the next part of this issue, is digital only can be a big problem for players in more than 120 countries. If you don't already know, PlayStation Store is only available in 69 countries because of issues with international law. So they've just quite literally foregone quite a bit of the stuff they have. So 121 countries, about 64% of the world still lack official access to Sony Digital Store. So they're unable to play games in their store because either, in the Middle East, there's certain laws that Sony refuses to abide by. Other issues, I know there's some licensing issues, even in some European countries, which aren't don't have draconian laws like the Middle East, where no gay stuff on the picture, on the big screen and stuff like that. But they're just not going to put them up, which is unfortunate. Many players can only buy physical PlayStation games, but if future consoles no longer use this, they will lose their easiest way to buy new games. Realistically, that's just one tip of the iceberg, that Sony losing the digital form, losing the physical disc reader will cause problems. Like Sony's officially a monopoly on their own platform. Her to her, they can choose whenever they want to disable a game. Doesn't matter if you have the physical copy or the digital copy, Sony can disable it, right? And 3, it's just you can't use their store if you're not in a specific country. And they're not extending physical game support to them either. And mind you, if you can't go to the PlayStation Store or make a PlayStation account, you can't play Sony games even on PC. That's already a thing. So these countries are still not able to play. So you look at countries like Turkey and Poland, they don't. There's issues for the actual countries, even European countries. This isn't just affecting some backwater, like Andola or something, where they have some law that prevents. It's just they literally can't function in these in even European nations, which is a prime target audience, which is a problem. And you go into the actual numbers, they're going to be charging $1,400. Probably not 14. They're probably be charging closer to $1,100 for PS6. Even digital only is bullshit, but Sony effectively trapping their user base, which they already had an effective monopoly on the PlayStation Store, but there was some limitations where you could choose not to go through the PlayStation Store, go to local Walmart and get the physical copy, and you're going to lose that ability. And they're just not going to make physical discs anymore as well. So even if you say Walmart stocks the game, right, and you go and you buy a disc reader, right, and you plug that in, and that disc reader is the USB port, and the disc reader can read the game into your PS5 or PS6, what have you, and that's how you get physical copies and get them to work. If Sony doesn't want you to be able to do that, they can quite literally just make it so that that device isn't recognized and the PlayStation can't read it, right? And that's one of the big reasons why this is such a bad decision for Sony. I understand that they're doing it because they don't want to keep making physical games. There's no point. And there is a pseudo lack of control that Sony has with physical games, meaning that, unless they do what Nintendo does, which is one game, even if physical copies, one game, one key. That's effectively what they're doing. and there's no way to really transfer your license around between consoles, and it could lock that. So it doesn't really matter if you have the physical copy, right? But it's just, we need physical copies because it's a minor limitation on these companies that are completely anti-consumer in this situation. And hold up, I feel something on my cat's belly, and I'm worried. Maybe she just got a little bit of a stitch or something. But yeah, it's just, I get going against the Sony stuff, right? I get it, and like Sony as well. Like there was massive backlash. They're just gonna weather the storm, though. It doesn't matter. You know, once GTA 6 drops, Sony doesn't care anymore. They're gonna make $1 billion. They're gonna make $1 billion. You know, it doesn't matter just off the sales alone. But the big thing is that we have people, like countries are now suing Sony, right? And they also have they currently have ongoing lawsuits in other countries, right? And this is one thing, is that like even like Mexico saying, well, this is an antitrust, they're doing basically an antitrust slap suit, you know, to make it so that you can't, that they have to, if they're going to be a platform, they got to be able to let people buy games from other services. So they have to let Steam onto the PS6 type of situation. The complaint will probably be filed by Federal Representative Arias Reyes and Senator Luis Donaldo Calicio with Mexico's competition authority. They argue that without physical copies, PlayStation users will lose the ability to shop around for best prices. That is true, right? PlayStation actually can shut. They don't do. I don't think that PlayStation does regional pricing like Xbox does. They might. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me on it. But you can't shop around for discounts. The only way to get it is when PlayStation discounts to you, which is absurd, right? Because if you go to Walmart and like a Concord game is at Walmart, and it's been 10 years since Concord came out, it's still $60 on the PlayStation Store, but a Walmart has it on clearance for $2, right? That's the type of situation we're looking at when you lose the physical game. Did you just pee? Or is that water? It's just water. Okay, you need to go. I apologize. Onto the bed. Do not come back. She's just got water all over my hand. I apologize. But the second hand retailers all that sell the new games could be pushed out of the market. Exactly. Effectively, your local like gaming section of a Walmart. I'm saying Walmart, Target. That's just America, but like whatever you have at in Mexico or anywhere else on the planet, your local, your local grocery store or what have you that sells these products, they can't sell it to you anymore. They've effectively been pushed out of the market. Mind you, I don't think there's many people buying from Walmart, but like things like GameStop here in the US, right? GameStop relies heavily on these physical sales, and they're just not going to have it anymore, right? Because why would I pre-order through GameStop? They're not going to, like, why would Sony be incentivized to have these GameStop deals, right? Because GameStop tends to have like a custom Ultimate Edition stuff like that for sale. But you look at say Walmart gives you a special key. You get or like Doritos, right? If you get a package of Doritos, you get the special key and you get the Dorito skin. Like, why would they do that when they could just force you to buy it at full price on the PlayStation Store and they dictate the price no matter what? And it's not even just their first party games, it's all games. Sony, you could make a game on the PlayStation Store and Sony could effectively say, well, we don't like that your game is effectively competing with our first party game, and we're going to force you to sell it at $60, even though the game's only worth like $20. They could do stuff like that. Now, are they doing it? No, but they could. And without the physical releases, they can quite literally force people to no matter what, this extra seller, second hand, and game trade will effectively disappear. Exactly. You can't trade games. The only way to do secondhand, there's no secondhand gaming anymore. It's entirely going to just be, you purchase it and there's nothing you can do. You can't even, like, mind you, like Nintendo already does this, so it's not that big of a deal in that regard, because no one cared about Nintendo when Nintendo did it, because I'm pretty sure Nintendo doesn't, if you have the chip, like, and you get the physical copy for the chip and you put it into your Switch, it's a one-term license effectively, even if you have the chip. So, Microsoft at least is doing they're trying to set up if you have the disc, you insert it into your Xbox, it becomes a digital license that follows your account. At least you could do something like that. And if you have the disc, you can just keep handing it to people that can get a digital license. Exactly. So they would have greater control over gaming, and that's what I was saying, through the PlayStation Store alone, so they could effectively fix prices no matter what. And that is something that could be problems. They're even saying this in the lawsuit. Developers and publishers could become more dependent on Sony's platform and its commercial terms. Sony, if they get rid of the physical aspect, mind you, like if you have to play on the, like you're already making a contract to be able to play on the Sony, like the Sony console, so PlayStation, to be able to play on PlayStation, you already have to sign a contract that locks you in no matter what. But the problem isn't that. The problem is that Sony would effectively have more power in these basically litigations to be able to use their platform, which they already have almost complete control already. It's just now there's even more instances that this could happen, and I completely understand why they're doing this. I don't think they're going to win. I think this is more like, okay, if it happens in Mexico, Sony will just stop selling their games in Mexico. They've done this before. And they'll say, yeah, fuck you. But there is significant backlash going on both consoles. Microsoft for losing, for firing everybody. There's when I say significant backlash on that, it's from the developers and like industry insiders and stuff like that, and a few players and a few gamers. Sony is mainly the gamers coming out against them, and I definitely think the loss of physical copies is more of a tip of the iceberg type of situation, where there's, like, going off these terms, right? There's a lot more at hand involving this move than just, we don't want to make it anymore. Because even if you have the game, you're still forced. Even if you have the physical copy, DRM can effectively make it no matter what, right? If the game has to be always online to be able to play, you don't own the game. Even if you have a physical copy, you put in the disc, it still requires you to, like, even if you have the disc, it still requires you to download the game. And because, mind you, a CD can't hold 100 gigabytes, I'm pretty sure. I think they're only like a couple, maybe I'm wrong, but they're going to force you to download the game no matter what. DRM, 10 years down the line, they just shut the game off. Look at Concord. They sold physical copies of Concord, shut the game off, the game doesn't run anymore. If you try to boot the game up, it gives you like an error code, it kicks you back to what have you can't play the game. So again, physical copies doesn't really mean anything. It's just there's greater industry difficulties with doing this, and unless Sony, that needs to be litigated out. And I think this is going to be the same problem for Xbox. It's just Xbox has its own struggle at the moment, and both sides are having issues. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this one. Let's move on to the next set.
See